Using problem-based learning in teaching grade 12 economics, how do prices of goods and services affect the decision of buyers and sellers? This video presents the application of a strategy, which is the problem-based learning approach in teaching economics for grade 12, particularly in studying the relationship of the prices of goods and services to the demand and supply. Just like many other teaching methods, the problem-based learning is a good, to some extent, strategy to help learners critically and analytically address economic issues in their local areas. Moreover, under this study, the 35 Bachelor in Elementary Education and 38 Bachelor in Secondary Education major in biology students in their third year are the learners of the course SS 322 or the Principles of Economics with Land Reform and Taxation. Now, how do prices of goods and services affect the decision of buyers and sellers? Now, this unit also presents and identifies the prices of goods and services and its effect to the consumers and suppliers, especially in the local market of Bunawan, Agusan del Sur. Now, the project idea. In January 14 to February 18 this year, 2013, the B.Ed and BSc Biology third-year students of Agusan del Sur State College of Agriculture and Technology, ASCAT, conducted a study on the effects of the prices of goods and services to the demand and supply in Bunawan, Agusan del Sur. Now, just like many other unit plans in teaching, we should always put into consideration the content, standards, and objectives. Now, here, in the problem-based learning, in the first column, you could see the objectives directly taught. And one of these is demonstrate ways citizens can work cooperatively in determining the effects of the prices of goods and services towards the demand, which is the consumer, and supply refers to the producer or supplier. In the second column, the identified learning target, students will demonstrate a way citizens can critically examine and analyze the prices of goods and services which affect the demand and supply in the local market. And in the third column, evidence of success in achieving identified learning target. So we are now talking on the output of the students. Here, students will develop interview questions, which is guided by the teacher, and interview buyers and sellers. Now, during the interview, before the interview, they are going to send a letter of request to the target respondents, especially the suppliers and buyers of certain commodities. Another one is students will identify sellers of common goods or services. After the presentation of the content, standards, and objectives, here are the skill standards. Now, first, the learning skills and technology tools. We should always put into our mind as facilitators of learning that students will recognize information needed for problem solving, especially the analysis of economic issues like price as the factor that affects the decision making of the buyers and sellers. Next, student uses technology tools and instructional materials in analyzing problems. Now, in our locality, our students mostly use the ICT or Information and Communications Technology Center. And some of our instructional materials, we only use technology instructional materials like textbooks in economics, in analyzing or having an in-depth knowledge of the concepts in the elasticity of demand and supply, which is affected by the price. Next to the skill standards is the evidence of success. So under here, students will research information, interview respondents, and develop a written report, which is a case study. Okay. After the interview and a written report was submitted or presented, here is the assessment plan. Now, for the major group output, there will be group deliberation or group discussion in front of the class, brainstorming, developing interview questions, the interview proper, presentation of case study. So, in the presentation of a case study, the teacher will prepare a rubric which is used to grade the students' output. So, as simple as that, the teacher will just prepare a rubric as a grading tool. Okay. The target respondents in the local market. So the 35 bachelor and elementary education students were divided into 5 groups, 7 members per group, while the 38 bachelor and secondary education major in biology students were divided also into 5, 2 groups each having 7 members, while the 3 groups each having 8 members. So, sample target respondents of group 1, they have 10 suppliers of rice and 20 consumers of rice. For the group 2, they have 10 fruit stand owners and 20 consumers of fruits. For the group 3, 10 egg dealers and 20 consumers of eggs. Group 4, 10 carinderia owner and 20 consumers. Group 5, 10 fish vendors and 20 consumers of that in the fish market. Now, we only have common commodities for each group, which is for the group 1, they are just going to focus on the rice dealers or suppliers. For the group 2, for the fruit stand owners. Group 3, egg dealers. Group 4, carinderia owners. And group 5, the fish vendors. Okay. So, during the interview proper, here is a sample interview guide for the suppliers of goods. So, we are going to focus on the suppliers. First question, what goods are you selling and why? Next question, how much are you willing to sell if the price will rise? Third question, how much are you willing to sell if the price fall? And lastly, how do price affect your business? Okay, those were just simple interview guides. Here is a sample interview guide for the consumers. Okay, first, what basic commodities are you willing to buy and why? So this refers to the daily commodities being buy by our consumers. Next, how much of that commodity are you willing to buy if the price rise? And lastly, how much of that commodity are you willing to buy if the price fall? So in this study, students are being guided by the teacher, and the teacher will act as a facilitator. So to ensure knowledge and retention of learning. Okay. So can we adapt this problem-based learning into our local social studies, community, or environment? For me, yes. As a local social studies teacher, we have things to put into consideration. One must have an awareness on the nature of a problem-based or PBL method and its application. Next, one should understand the essence and relevance of a democratic classroom involving learners in examining economic issues. That is why under problem-based learning, we are focusing on the learner-centered theory, which is students will learn by doing or simulating in the community. Third, the application of this method should be appropriate to the learner's level and needs in accordance to the implemented curriculum goals in social studies. So we are lucky because the K-12 stage standards for grade 12 refers to mostly on research studies. So grade 12 stands for the second year college. So I think it is appropriate that learners will develop their critical and research skills. And lastly, yes, we could adapt this problem-based learning if we are going to abide the laws of implementing a curriculum or creating a curriculum, first we should have clear objectives, which is anchored to the national goal of our education. We have learning activities, different or differentiated activities, and availability of resources. Yes, this is so true, especially in our case here in Agusan del Sur, that we really lack of resources, especially the use of computer. And appropriate assessment tools should be considered. So, many of us educators always use this standardized test, but when it comes to problem-based learning, we are going to use a rubric to grade the performance of our students. So, thank you for listening. That's all for problem-based learning as applied in the curriculum for social studies.